Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening, or good morning or afternoon, depending on when you're listening. It is I, your humble host and bard, Charles Chaz Yazik, the DM, the bard. There are many names that I am known by. And this is the 88th episode of hopefully many episodes of Bard Advice, a D&D slash TTRPG slash nerd-centric podcast where I do my best to answer any questions that you might have. Speaking of which, just to remind everybody of the email for the show, it's bardadvice@gmail.com. It also looks like bardadvice. So if you do have any questions, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques, etc., please send them over there to bardadvice@gmail.com. If you want to get some merch, you can do so over at manshorts.com. Lately, we've been pushing people over to krakendice.com to grab one of our 4 limited release dice sets that we partnered with them to release this year. So go over to krakendice.com and get yourself a set of those if you haven't already. If you want to contribute to anything that I do musically, you can do so directly via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are Yazik, Yahzick. Hope that everybody's doing well. It's Friday the 13th, by the way, which I didn't realize until a couple of hours ago. So, we'll we'll see how that is. I mean, I guess there's not much of it left. So, how's everybody doing? Hello, Ruby, River, Avram, Pirate, Ron, all the regulars. Avram, thank you for joining. Hope you're doing well. It is Friday, and it is the end of the week for those with conventional schedules. I am in a good place. I got some good stuff done this week. I'm getting close to being finished with my lessons for school, so I'll be soon studying for the exam for that. And been making music stuff all the time, always making music. So, also at the top of the show, we like to thank all of our members, patrons, super chatters. Remind everybody to please like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, rate the podcast, join the Discord, and play BardGo, which is available on the Discord. It's the Bard Advice version of Bingo. And I was looking at the card. I generated myself a card just to see the kind of stuff that's on there, and it's like, man, no wonder people are getting BardGo all the time. But, I mean, I guess I do say the same stuff a lot. So, let's get into it. We've got 7 questions this evening. We will go through those, and then we'll do a little chat. Before we do all of that, though, we like to do Art Corner. And this week for Art Corner, there's a couple of things I'd like to point out to people if you aren't aware of it. HBO has recently started a show called Wise Guy, David Chase and the Sopranos. Not sure if anyone out there has seen or enjoyed The Sopranos as much as I did, but I just started watching this today. I think that there are currently 2 episodes out at the moment, and then I imagine they'll just release probably weekly. But it's really cool. It's interesting to see like a lot of that behind the scenes stuff, and there's like a lot of footage of like Gandolfini and stuff that we've never seen before. So if you were into that show, highly recommend checking it out. And the other thing that just caught my eye this week that is not my specific art stuff is these guys on TikTok. The name of their group is On Company Time. But in particular, there's been a song that's been a real earworm in my head this week called So Sick of Giving You Up. And it's about vaping. And it's kind of hilarious. The first TikTok of it I saw was with a caption that read, if Gen Z produced music in the 80s, and it's very that. So definitely check that out because that's cool. And yeah, love The Sopranos, due for a rewatch. I was thinking that too, watching that episode of the Wise Guy show today. I was like, man, might rewatch that through. I was also thinking about doing that with Trailer Park Boys too. Also, before I forget, there's a few other things for Art Corner just briefly. Bartificial Intelligence is my new show. I stream it with my buddy Songaria on Sunday evenings. So on his YouTube channel, I've got a link for his channel in the description. So Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, we do Bartificial Intelligence. It's basically a show where we make AI music, and we build, we create songs during the week and then present them, and then we build a song with chat. And so that's real cool. And they just added, Suno actually just added a new feature today called covers, today or yesterday. And I've been messing around with that. That's real cool. So check that out. And another thing before I forget, Songaria has also released his AI album, Artificial Irie, which is an AI reggae album that we worked on together. It was kind of him to put me as a co-creator on that, because I really only did, I think, 3 songs of the 17, but it's definitely fun and cool, and it's just kind of an AI reggae album about like some of our favorite like celebrities and actors and musicians and stuff. So it's cool. Go check it out. All right, so it's enough of all that. It's time to get into the questions because we've got 7. So let's get into it. The first question is from Sarah, and Sarah asks, "Hello, DM/Bard. You talk about AI a lot." Yep. "And recently the Hasbro CEO mentioned that all of his friends use AI for their D&D games. I admit that lately I also find myself chatting with GPT for game ideas or suggestions. Do you think that the D&D community should embrace AI tools as an inevitability? Thanks." Well, thank you for the question, Sarah. Yeah, I know I do talk about AI a lot. Probably it gets annoying sometimes, but I think that every community should embrace the inevitability of AI. So, first of all, I think it's pretty skeezy of Chris Cox. This is the Hasbro CEO, or is he the Wizard CEO? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Probably Hasbro. When a year ago, wait a minute. Can someone confirm that for me in chat, whether he's Hasbro or not? A year ago, when there was that whole controversy with the Bigsby's Giants book about AI art, right? Remember that? Well, we talked about that on here. And the company just threw all of those artists completely under the bus, right? They were like, "Whoa, AI, we didn't even know. We don't have any kind of oversight of what our teams are doing. We can't believe it." Thank you. It's Hasbro. So it's not as direct, I guess, but it's, it's like a year ago, you guys pretended that you didn't know what it was. Now everybody uses it. Well, okay. All right. That's annoying. But as for AI in general, I do talk about it a lot. And a part of the reason that I talk about it a lot is because not a lot of people do. And I don't know if that's maybe because they're not aware of all of the stuff that's available, or like maybe they're uncomfortable about it and they're trying to like maybe avoid it. But it's coming, folks. It's going to be everywhere. It's the new internet. And I should clarify, the concept of like AI is not new. Computers are AI. Word processors, like spell check, Photoshop, music DAWs, editing software, that's all AI. Or forms of it. And it kind of reminds me of like when CGI first started being used in movies. Like, people were so resistant to it, and partly because it looked really bad. And they said stuff like, people aren't gonna like any of this CGI stuff. It's got to be, human stuff and practical effects. And believe me, as somebody who likes to produce film and stuff, I love the idea of that kind of stuff. Like, obviously, practical effects, but you fast forward 20 years, and the most popular film franchise is the Marvel Universe, which is just full of CGI. And nobody really cares anymore, partly because you can't really tell the difference, or at least you can't tell enough of a difference that it disrupts the content, right? Like, you can suspend belief enough now with CGI that it's kind of a non-issue. Really, you would only be like a purist if you were somebody that was like, oh, well, I would prefer it with, practical effects. But, in my estimation, if you can't really tell the difference, then what's the difference? You go back and watch movies like Brendan Fraser's The Mummy or like The Scorpion King, and like the CGI stuff is like painfully obvious. And I think that that's where we are right now with AI, art, music, scripts, etc. It's painfully obvious, but pretty soon we won't be able to tell the difference. So, I don't know. What do people think about this? My wife talks about AI all the time, too. Pandora's box has already been opened. It's far too late to close it now. AI is here to stay and will only get worse from here. So, real AI dates back to, like, the 1950s. Yeah, and probably before that, too, right? Like, I don't know. What is AI? It's an intelligence that we designed. So I mean, like even simple tools are like forms of AI, right? I mean, any kind of like a machine that you can just turn on and it just goes. That's an artificial intelligence in the sense that like it has intelligence enough based on its components and how it's been designed to do a thing. Typically, that thing makes a job way faster and more efficient. It's like manufacturing, right? You want a better example of awful CGI? Look at Escape from LA. Oh man, I bet those mid '90s ones that did it was real obvious. Because what I need is more issues with reality. You want automation in automotive is AI. Yeah. And I've been having a lot of fun with Suno. I was talking to Song about this recently because, their new feature on there is called covers, which in my experience, now I've only briefly messed with that new tool, but it seems that you can give it one of your existing songs. You can only give it one of your songs, I think. And it will cover it. And the couple of ones that I've done, it really just seemed to take the original and make it cleaner. So this is, I can't wait until this stuff is all just like tools in a DAW. When you're able to do this directly, like from Fruity Loops, it's going to change everything about music. I've used ChatGPT and a couple of creators to enhance my D&D content, but it always requires tweaking, editing, and sometimes outright rewriting. Yeah, and with GPT, like I talk to GPT pretty frequently, and it's just, I treat it just almost like a second brain, and I certainly don't rely on it more than mine, the first brain, but it's great to just like have at least some sort of a basic, I've found that it's great for organization or ideas, so I encourage people to use it. Did I do Rad Mind? Yeah. Rad Mind of Yazzik? That's an old song. That's like 10 years old. I think officially. But yes. But yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah. I mean, embrace it. Get your, try to just enjoy it while, before it gets scary. LucasArts is the best CG. Escape from LA was released in 96. Jurassic Park was released in 93. The CG for JP was way better. Favorite is generating an entire stable of NPCs with quick descriptions and a secret. Yeah. Also, it's like, talk about like saving yourself time. If you're a DM and you're building a campaign, like especially if it's like homebrew, and then inevitably your players are going to enter a bar and like you're going to throw a description of just like a weird group of people in the corner that have nothing to do with the story, and then they're going to want to go interact with those people. And so on the fly, you need like stat blocks and stuff, or at least like info like names, and GPT's great for that because it's just doing what you would do in your brain. It's just doing it faster. It's great. Yes, it was. That actually, River, the beat that it's on is actually Ill Mind 5. So that's why I called it Rad Mind, because that was his Ill Mind 5. And then there was a rapper named My Son who remixed it. And between those two, I was inspired to do my own version of it. AI can be dangerous, though. Some folks were already harmed by AI generating foraging book. They couldn't tell the difference and harvested the wrong things. Or they want a menu. Can't come up with stuff for crap. Yeah, any kind of little things like that coming up. It's a great tool for it. And more than likely, if Chris Cox is being so forthright with just saying like, yeah, everybody uses it, you can expect it to be available and used frequently to probably generate random characters and tables and info and weapons and all kinds of stuff. Because why wouldn't you? All right, so thank you for the question, Sarah. I don't want to stay too long on that because we do have more questions, but it's appreciated. The next question, this next question is a fun one, and they're all fun questions, but boy, howdy, this one was fun. It's from Chris, and Chris asks, assuming each of the classes had a vehicle and needed to drive them regularly, what bumper stickers do you think they'd each have? Okay, thank you for the question. Chat, feel free to sound off with what yours are. While you do that, I'm going to go over what I decided. Barbarians just says, caution, driver has road rage. The bards would be something goofy like, here comes treble, or maybe something sexual like, I'm trisexual, but it's spelled T-R-Y. The clerics would say I'm kind of a big heel. Druid says my other mount is wild shape. For the fighter, I imagine a picture of a longsword and it just says come and take it. Or maybe keep honking, I'm rolling initiative. The monks would say powered by key or I follow the way. For the paladin, I put justice as my co-pilot, which is really funny. The rangers would almost certainly say the wilderness is calling or I'd rather be tracking. The rogues would say stealth mode engaged or follow me, I know a shortcut. The sorcerers would say magic is in my blood or no focus needed. The wizards would say if you can read this, I'm prepping spells, or maybe don't mess with me, I'm down to my last spell slot. And finally, the warlock's bumper sticker would say don't tell my patron. Or another one might be I'm an eldritch blast. So let's see what people have got. So, Paladin, I don't break, I smite. Rogues can't have bumper stickers on a motorcycle. That's a really good point. Druids definitely the coexist. Yeah, I thought about that too. I wondered if it would say coexist, but like instead of like Western, or rather instead of like human religions, it would be stuff like animals. Cleric, God name is my co-pilot. Monk would have a Kia. I thought about that. Yeah, I wondered about how to make that into a bumper sticker. I'm in favor of voluptuous rumors, and I am not... Oh, this is for the bard. I'm in favor of voluptuous rumors, and I am not one to tell a story that is not based in the truth. I have a 5th edition rogue bard build. It's a mastermind rogue and a College of Whispers bard. Bardo, you look like you could do his ride. Fighter, a sword with from my cold dead hands. Wizards, if you can read this, you're in fireball range. Artificer, my other ride is a tank. Oh, yeah, the Artificer. I feel like the Artificer gets left out, but he's not technically... The Artificer's not technically a base class, right? Is it even going to be in the new book as a base class? I don't think so. I think it's just the 12. Rogue, I'm driving like I stole it. Don't most monks give up earthly possessions, so would their bumper sticker be a tattoo? Yeah, or they would have... I feel like a monk would have like a one wheel. Or something even more ergonomic, like, eco-friendly, rather, like a bicycle. Yes, it is. Oh, rumps. Okay. Oh, I am in favor of voluptuous rumps. Monk would have a vinyl silhouette sticker of a karate guy breaking a board next to the Kia logo. There it is. That's nice. Warlock, the dealership made a pact I can't refuse. Lambraffides. Oh, wait a minute. That's the end of a joke, huh? Pretty sure it's in the PHB. Artificers? Yeah. Why aren't they? Right? What are we doing, wizards? I mean, we have a lot of other questions about what you're doing, but while we're at it, why is the Artificer not a base class? I don't understand. Aren't we, like, supposed to be in favor of STEM? Isn't that, like, a new thing that we want to encourage people to get into those kind of fields? Can't we do the same with D&D? I definitely feel like I would have played Artificer a lot if it was a base class back in, like, 2006. Having checked out many monasteries and many religions, bike is the right answer. The alternative mode of transportation for a monk. I see. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think we got him. Gang. Between my notes and the chat notes, well taken care of. So maybe I should get into the business of bumper stickers. So just make a bunch of D&D bumper stickers and sell those online. All right. Thank you very much for the question, Chris. That one was fun. I do like doing those. The class things are always a fun time. So let's keep moving on. The next question we have is from Nathan, I believe. Yes. And Nathan asks, there's been a rumor circulating the web that Spielberg will be making a sequel to The Goonies, starring the original actors 40 years later. Apparently, all of the OG cast has signed on, less those who sadly passed away. Are you excited to hear this? Or are you, like me, concerned this will end up another half-hearted cash grab we've seen so much of lately? Thank you for the question, Nathan. So, I don't care too much one way or the other. I don't really like the Goonies. Now, before people come at me for, speaking crazy, I did not see the Goonies until I was like almost 20. And I think you kind of have to experience it as a child to really fully enjoy it. Because I do believe that if I'd have seen it when I was like 7 or 8, I probably would have loved it and then carried that with me into adulthood of like that being a cool, good movie. But I didn't see it until I was like almost 20. So by that point, it didn't resonate with me as much. I thought it was kind of cheesy. So I don't really care one way or the other. But I will say, Hollywood and all these big studios, they've been kind of doing that for the last 20 years or so with the concept of like remakes. But it has been put in the fast lane lately. So, they recently remade The Crow. I heard that was really bad. I had no interest in seeing it because I feel like that movie is cursed with the unfortunate accidental death of Brendan Lee on set. So I don't think that there's ever going to be a really good one besides the first one. Just leave it alone. And then I saw that they made Twisters, which was the sequel to Twister. Hey, who asked for that? And then there's the Beetlejuice one. So it does seem like Hollywood and a lot of the major production studios are in a perpetual state of resting on the laurels of previous successes. And it kind of makes sense, really, because at the end of the day, these studios exist to make money and make profit and make good box office money, which we'll talk about that later, too. But, the part of that, well, this is just me. The only sequel or remake that I care about is the Beetlejuice one. I've heard mixed reviews about it. I plan on seeing it, and I intend to go into it with the same open mind that I try to go into any movie. What people expect or require from a movie is different, just like with any other art. So if it's not for you, it's not for you. I'm not going to write something off just because it's a remake or a sequel. But, that has been happening a lot lately, and those, they've not been great. But in my experience, my opinion's usually overall different than a lot of the masses anyway. Like, Everything Everywhere All at Once won Best Picture. I mean, I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was amazing. I thought it was okay. So, there's probably stuff that people would think like, oh, this is terrible. And I'll think, oh, it's okay. Or maybe that I even like it. So, never saw the Goonies. Goonies, where kids got to see kids making fools of adults. Watching it tonight, Friday the 13th. There are no new ideas, so let's reuse the old ones. Yeah, well, part of it is that it's a safe bet, right? It's like making it's like making Robert Downey Jr. Dr. Doom, right? Like that's not as much of an artistic call as it is, hey, this is our most popular actor in this space, so we're gonna go ahead and just keep him in our universe while we make movies. You just have to remember what day it is to understand studios' ideas of laurels and laurels of sequels. Hocus Pocus 2 and Practical Magic 2. Why do they remake terrible and obscure movies from the 90s like Warriors of Virtue? Oh, why don't they? Bro, Warriors of Virtue is a deep cut, River. That movie, I feel like I saw one time, and I saw the trailer a lot. Don't want to see Beetlejuice. The only reason that I'm like optimistic about Beetlejuice is that Keaton and Winona and Catherine O'Hara signed back up for it. So I wrote a script outline of a Goonies sequel about 20 years ago. It features the original cast of all their kids. It's up on an island and has a horde of monkeys that help the kids in the end. Oh, hey, Cody. I'm just going to go ahead. They're remaking Highlander. Haven't they already done that? It's like, and like some of it's real egregious, but like people don't seem to care. Like, how many Batmans do we have? Hey, DC. How many Batmans are there? Any other heroes you want to make stuff? But again, people love Batman. So they're just going to keep making Batman. Just going to tell different parts of the story of Batman because people like Batman. So that's the tightrope that I think a lot of people, especially if you work for like a major studio like Warner Brothers, you think they care about the art of the piece. They care about the box. And the way that you secure a good box is using actors and actresses that people like, that people think might be relatable, looking at Robert Downey Jr., and concepts that have worked, up and including just remaking or using a previous IP that's worked. So, I tried with the Green Lantern. That's true. Might see Beetlejuice and Drive. I mean, I want to see it. And I want to see it for myself, too. Because I feel like sometimes people go into stuff way too optimistic, and then sometimes people go into stuff pessimistic. And I know all about that because I'm a pessimist. So I try not to do that with movies. I try to give it at least a shot. I think I've only ever walked out of one movie ever, and it was Pulse. And I almost walked out of The Descent, but I wanted to see the whole thing because it was so terrible. And then Justin still gives me grief. People in general give me grief for that to this day. They're like, what do you mean The Descent is amazing? And it's like, is it, though? If we don't care about the money, they need to not use the source material as toilet paper and hire actually talented actors. I agree with you, River. And that's one of the cool things, by the way, to circle back to the wise guy, David Chase Soprano story. They were talking because at the time, 97, HBO was really only known for producing like comedy specials and like films and boxing. And so they were trying to get into the world of making shows. And they made Oz in 97. But then when they were doing The Sopranos, HBO was not, they were pretty low on the list of competition when it came to like home viewing. And so as a result, the creators of that show were given a lot of artistic agency. They were given a lot of freedom that like most productions don't get. And that's why it's so good. Because they were just like, oh, no, yeah, you guys just do it. And major studios don't want to do that because they don't want to risk it. So, okay. So, got an answer for that one. Right? I think the Goonies will be, some people will like it, some people will hate it. They'll probably make money overall. But I don't know, who knows? Maybe it'll be charming. I would say to at least keep an open mind, because I look at it this way. If it's good, hey, it's good. You enjoyed it. If it's bad, then you at least have seen it and your opinion is valid, other than just like, oh, I'm not going to even watch it. It's like, well, you should at least watch it. And then at a minimum, you'd have a funny story about how bad it is, right? Like, I feel like that happened with the Borderlands movie. It's like all these people that are like, oh, yeah, that movie was awful. It's like, yeah, but like some funny stuff came from it. Like that girl writing that song about how bad, reading the comments about how bad it was. So, all right. That's all I've got on that one. Thank you for the question, Nathan. The next question of the evening is from Kirk. And Kirk asks, DM block, like writer's block, good ways of breaking loose. Thank you for the question, Kirk. I think we have had a question similar to this on here before. I definitely have spoken about it, but it's always a good topic, I think. I feel like D&D players and DMs especially, like in particular if you're doing like a lot of world building and home brewing stuff, can kind of get lost in that world of storytelling. It happens to me as a writer. I experience that with, writing really anything. But often my best advice is to unplug from the world of that, whatever it is, as much as possible and spend some time doing something totally different. So if I'm having trouble coming up with lyrics or a script, I just play some 2K for an hour or two, or watch some reality television with my wife. Like, oh, we just finished watching that The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Anybody that likes reality wants to give that a shot on Hulu. That's a crazy journey. That's a wild trip for sure. Oh, and we did finish the Chimp Crazy. I don't know if it's done. There might be more, but I think it might be over. But that's just like a crazy, sad, interesting story. But I lost my train of thought. Oh, we're talking about writer's block. Yeah. I think giving yourself the opportunity to do something for which you don't have a goal, because, when you've got something that's like when you're dealing with something that's like a deadline, or like if you're creating, that's the thing about like making money with art, is if you're doing it for money, it can become like a chore. If you're not just doing it solely because you love it, it becomes a chore. But, such is the nature of it. So all I mean is that, like, when I play like 2K, there's no real repercussions from that. It's like if I win, if I lose, it's whatever. I'm enjoying playing the game. And I'm not worried about it. Whereas if you're like designing something for your session next week, it can be very stressful to be sitting on that and sitting with it. So if you're having a block, step away, do something that's totally unrelated. And, I even do this with my school stuff sometimes. Like I've been doing it after I've been doing it for a while, like I've been studying and like doing the lessons for like several hours, and the material starts to kind of like mush together. It's like, have you ever been reading a book and you read like a whole page but your mind is wandering, and then you get to the end and you realize you haven't read anything, and you've read like a whole page and didn't read the page? It's like that. That's a telltale sign that you got to walk away and do something else and just kind of like cleanse that mental palate. Cleanse that mental palate. A bardadvice block, DM block, create a silly one-shot in the world, pie eating contest in town, or whatever. Let your players lead you into a new direction at the end. Oh, that's good advice. Yeah, do something, and maybe take that same advice with the actual DMing or world building as far as like the story. Like if you maybe feel like you need more time as a DM to get that next session together, then do something like that, where it's something fun, where it's just like RP shopping in town, doing a pie eating contest or an arm wrestling contest or a beer drinking contest or something. That'd be fun. Catch you on the pod. Thanks for your hard work. Thank you, Trevor, very much. It's much appreciated, your donation. Thank you for supporting. So it's sort of cheating, but go on GOG.com and buy a random old RPG. Some of them are like 50 cents a game. You get so many ideas and characters, just seeing someone else's story helps. That's great, too. Yeah, and I think that there's just a lot of homebrew content online in general, too. There's a lot of people that play, that have got their own campaigns going on, and then, yeah, like Chris just said, you can go, I guess, to GOG.com and get cheap old RPG games where there's just like a plethora of data that you can use, ideas and stories. Or you could talk to ChatGPT, like we were talking about earlier. Well, just be like, hey, GPT, I need some ideas for this thing. And it'll just talk to you like a person. It's pretty crazy. Coworker asked me to say she works on a jigsaw puzzle until inspiration strikes. I've gotten out of the habit of making puzzles. I have a tendency to like get into a hobby real hardcore and then kind of abandon it in 3 months. And there was a period in the last couple of years where I was making puzzles, and it's fun. Making puzzles is a really great way to kind of unplug and just do something that's like mindless but also stimulating. So a ton of great homebrew content out there. One of my favorite monsters of all time is a homebrew. Yeah, some of my favorite stuff's homebrew. Could have ChatGPT write a one-shot. That's true. Yeah, you could just outright ask it like, hey, write me a one-shot. It's pretty great. Listing while doing closing stuff. Well, it's appreciated. Thank you very much. I like to ask my players what their characters' dreams and ambitions are. That helps me build a way to get to them. That's a bar. What their characters' dreams and ambitions are, that helps me build a way to get to them. That's a good point. So yeah, don't ever be afraid, I think, to do just like an RP session where you just spend a little time getting to know the player characters more, and then, them getting to know themselves as a character and their party members more as well. Because obviously that stuff happens naturally. You build sort of like, the party kind of builds relationships, interpersonal relationships as the story goes, just because of things that kind of naturally occur. But it doesn't hurt to do a thing where it's just like, all right, well, today we're just going to go like shopping and hang around town because, you have to wait until the day after tomorrow to travel because there's a storm or something. So ask them that and then crush their characters' dreams and ambitions. That's always an option too. But thank you for the question, Kirk. That was fun. Yeah, just try and unplug as much as you can, and then don't be afraid to do those fun things in campaign, where and a lot of times the players don't care. You could just say to them like, "Hey, okay, so I still am getting ready for the encounter next week, and so this week we're just going to do RP stuff." So RP sessions are great for party bonding and world building. The shopping sessions are always great to decompress after a tough battle. Most definitely. Plus, it's like a nice little reward if they're just coming off a quest where they got some gold. Let them go spend it. All right. Thank you for the question, Kirk. The next question is another one from Chris. This one I just thought was fun, so we're going to do this one. So Chris asks, back when I was in middle school, it was all the hype to give each person in your cell phone a custom ringtone. Does anyone in your phone have a custom ringtone, or is everyone on the generic ringer? Also, would you be willing to turn some of your music into ringtones? Thank you for the question, Chris. I think that my songs might be available that way. I don't know how I would do that, but I'm not opposed to that idea. I think that that's cool if anybody would want to have that. My phone doesn't ring if I can help it. So, unless I'm like specifically waiting for a call or it's like alarms that I use to wake myself up, I don't have a ringer on. Can't do it. Mostly because the only calls that I get are spam. And usually I have my phone on me, so if a call comes through and it's someone that I know, I'll usually answer it. But I mostly just text. I do still have Justin stored on my phone as Birch McKnightly. Which is a joke from like 20 years ago. I think that we were changing our names on Facebook, and we were just making like more and more crazy names. Like I changed my name, I think, to Cornelius Hammerclaw, and he changed his to Birch McKnightly. And I put him in my phone as that, and then he's been in my phone as that forever. I definitely remember the days of ringtones. I remember waiting for a song to come on the radio so that I could have it playing in the background for my voicemail. Plus, you used to have to pay for ringtones, right? Like, they were like $1 or $2. And if it was a new song, I think it was even more. Like, back in like the early 2000s when like cell phones first came out and like you could first like use them to connect to the internet. This is like right before smartphones. You could do that kind of stuff where it was like, I feel like they even had services where you could like text a number and then they would send you like the file to use as a ringtone. My generic ringtone is the 80s A-Team complete intro. Still try to give people their own ringtone though. Really, that's interesting. My phone's super cheap prepaid. I don't do custom ringtones anymore, and I root all the invasive bloatware and malware that comes factory installed. Yeah, I hear that. Use unique ringtones. The hospital ringtone is I want to be sedated by the Ramones. That's cool. That makes it fun, I guess, too. Like, it just, I don't know. People don't call me enough. That's the thing. Like, I mean, the only people that ever really, like, call me on the phone are, like, my mom and Justin and my wife. And, yeah, like I said, usually we text. So it's rare that I'm even getting a phone call that's not spam. So a couple of years ago, I just put my phone on silent. It's been that way ever since. Ron's ringtone is YYZ. Heck yeah. Used to use a different websites to create my own ringtones and text tones. I remember I got in trouble because I had a $100 phone bill because I texted to get the ringtones. Yeah, I did that once or twice to my parents, and obviously looking back feel bad, but didn't just, just being a dumb kid. But I've talked about that on here before, I think, too, because like when texting first came out, like that's what's so funny is that the younger generation doesn't realize texting used to cost money. It was like 10 cents a text one way. So like I send a text, that's 10 cents. I get a text, that's 10 cents. I can't believe it. Seems so crazy that you would do that now, but that was the norm when I was in high school. And because most people back then, well, when I was a kid, people talked on the phone. I had a home phone line. And so texting was very new, and it was, it was the T9, or it was the texting where you had to like hit the number 3 times to get to the letter that you wanted to. I got to be really good at it. And then we finally got like QWERTY boards, and then obviously the smartphone, which changed everything. But yeah, the texting thing, when we started doing that in high school, we were all of us, my generation, were just running up our parents' phone bills. My phone lives on silent most of the time. I used to have fun ones. I just use the built-in ringtones now. Could do specific ringtones, but can't be bothered. Keep my phone on silent. Yeah, see, mine's on silent. 10 cents a text and minutes. Having to wait until 8:30 to call because nights were free. Or 9. I remember when it was 9. Pagers and payphones. I remember pagers. I had a babysitter that had a pager when I was a kid. Pagers are kind of cool. I don't know why. It seems like more official. It's like, oh, I've got to get to a phone. Someone needs me. Yeah, I guess pagers are neat. The ring causes too much of a panic response. Yeah, especially these days, because it's like, hey, who's calling me? Is there an emergency? Is there something wrong? Do I owe someone money? Oh, you're trying to sell me something. I see. So yeah, it's just on silence now. Okay, Superman with a pager. Well, hey, I mean, he does always run into a phone booth. All right, we've got 2 more questions, and then we'll do a little chat before we get out of here. Thank you for the question, Chris. That was fun. A little trip, a little nostalgia voyage. The next question is from Art. And I mentioned that we would talk about box office stuff later, and that's what this question is. So, and get your BardGo stickers ready if you've got 2 slides, because this is a multi-slide question. This is from Art, and Art asks, hey, Yazzik, first time writing in. Thank you for writing in. Please continue to do so. Thanks for all the music and stuff. Looking forward to your human versions of your recent AI songs. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm working on those. Anyway, to my question, Hugh Grant was asked why he thought Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves had such a lackluster performance at the box office. His answer was essentially a lack of market research. He said, quote, basically people just thought, I don't want to see a film about this game. What are your thoughts about this? Thank you, and best of luck on your A+ certification. Thank you, Art. Much appreciated. I'm getting close to at least being done with the study program, so I'll be taking the test here within the next month. So thank you for that. It sounds like Hugh Grant's never played D&D. I imagine a lot of the people on set haven't. At least, certainly a lot of the decision makers on set. Obviously, the biggest reason Honor Among Thieves didn't do well as it should have is because of the OGL stuff. Anybody that knows anything about D&D in the D&D world knows that that's the case. Hasbro and Wizards have become increasingly bold in alienating their players. Last week or the week before, I was speaking about how they've reached a place where they can rely on volume, and they probably approached the movie that way. They probably were just like, they probably just thought like, people will go see it. And then they just didn't. And the OGL and the magic stuff that's been going on the last couple of years is obviously the reason. To be fair, the film still made money, by the way. That should be pointed out. It's not like they lost money. They still made like $50 million. It's just like we were talking about earlier, these studios, they're trying to, and Marvel set the bar for that stuff, right, with these billion-dollar box offices. Now studios are like, well, is this going to make me $1 billion? Because otherwise I don't want to invest. So it's just not as much as they probably should have made from a percentage standpoint. Like, and by the way, like when you consider that the Marvel movies have been doing $1-2 billion a movie lately, I think that without that controversy, they could have easily done $200 or $300 million in the box. Easy, maybe even $500 million. But that's the answer. And I expect that Hugh Grant is just kind of going from what he knows from his position as an actor, because that's probably what actors think. It's like, oh, well, it didn't do well. Well, it probably just wasn't marketed well. It's like, well, I mean, it could be any number of reasons. In this particular case, it didn't really have anything to do with that. I mean, everybody in the D&D community knew it was coming. And anybody that is like a D&D fan that has, or player or DM, and has friends that aren't really into D&D, you know that if you decided to not go to the movie because of the OGL stuff, had that OGL stuff not happened, you would be cheerleading to your friends to come see it with you, and they probably would have come and seen it with you. So don't think that's a fair answer from someone who only started playing the game on set. Many of the cast were players before the movie, and they had a game going on after hours on set. Well, that's interesting. But again, the actors don't, they don't make any decision about directing or writing or editing or shall die for my awesome wizard powers or by the sword of Rahathba. Or whatever his we nerds got. Either way, he's getting his butt kicked. I don't play, but I did like the movie. They're trying to appeal to a younger audience. Yeah, and I don't think the movie was really that bad. I kind of enjoyed it. There were things that I probably would have made slightly different, but hey, in comparison to the D&D movies we've gotten before, probably the best one. And I think the reason it didn't do better is because of all the controversy that was going on at the time. So, hey, what's up, Song? Over a decade of soulless cash grabs have left me wary of everything new that releases. Yeah, I understand that. I was pleasantly surprised when it turned out the movie was great. Yeah, I think it was great. I think it was... it's it's an A- for me. There are very few notes that I have. What I would have changed is better behavior from Wizards and Hasbro in terms of like owning these issues. Because honestly, they are at a level now of like a multi-billion-dollar corporation where they're going to be making these decisions that upset people. And for me, I would just feel a lot better if they owned it, Because that's my big problem is that they always act. It's like with the AI stuff. They're like, "Whoa, we had no idea." It's like, yeah, you didn't pay for the software that has AI generative stuff in it. Come on now. Mario was overshadowing it. That's true. Yeah, Mario came out that summer. So between that and the controversy, they didn't really have a shot. But if they make another one, I'll go see it, And maybe more people will go see it if they make another one now that, since the controversy did pass and now it's like on, people are able to watch it more. It's more attainable, like to watch from home and stuff now. Movie was right behind OGL. It made money, but it needs to double cost to account for marketing costs. Did go see the movie. It was okay. Your game partner loved it. Thought the most recent D&D movie was entertaining to the general crowd too, not just D&D nerds. Yeah, for sure. It was a fun movie. I watched it 3 times the night it hit streaming. Nice. Movie. I watched the movie as what the players saw in their mind's eye while playing D&D at the table. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't really considered that. I've gotten into the habit of like watching content as a content maker instead of just like an audience member. But that'd be fun to rewatch it. I haven't actually watched it since we saw it in theaters, so it might be good to rewatch. Took almost 2 hours on hold to realize they don't know where the money they stole from my account went to. Oh, sorry that you're going through that, Bean. Yeah, banks are awful. I work with a credit union, and even they have got some splaining to do when it comes to their website and their ATMs and stuff. They have great rates and like solid customer service, but I don't know. Everything's a scam these days. Sorry to hear you're going through that, Bean. Hope that gets resolved for you. Fun fact, the D&D movie stuff is on clearance at the local dollar store. Whoa, really? And didn't they just partner with Lego? Yeah, we talked about that last week. They're releasing those minifigs. CIBC has quickly proven even worse than BMO. Man. Well, that's tough. That's never fun to have to deal with. All right. So we will now... Thank you for the question, Art. Yeah, I just think that... I don't think that Hugh Grant... I think he's just coming from a place of like not really having much experience or knowledge about the game or the company or any of the stuff that was going on and why that stuff was so negative when it happened. Because that's an easy question. If somebody was like, hey, if somebody asked me, hey, why do you think Honor Among Thieves didn't make as much money as it should have? It's OGL. And maybe a little bit of Mario happening at the same time. So Dollar General is selling the movie Nerf guns at $6. I didn't even know they had movie Nerf guns. Did they make it? They must have made a bunch of merch. I guess it didn't sell well because of the OGL controversy and stuff. And then they just keep walking into stuff, seemingly, where it's just like, oh, what'd they do now? What'd they say now? All right. Thank you for the question, Art. That was good. We've got one last question, and then we'll do a little chat. So let's talk about this, because this is relevant stuff now that football season is here. This last question is from John. John asks, hey, Chaz, tough loss against Miami last Sunday. Besides the obvious fumble, where do you think the Jags went wrong? Are you more or less optimistic after this loss? Thank you for the question, John. Yeah, I'm not super stoked to be talking about this, a week one loss. I will say a couple of things. The first is that, I hope that, Tua recently, if anyone doesn't know, got another concussion last night in Thursday Night Football against the Bills. I don't know exactly what his status is or what the plans are for the future, but I just wish him the best. And, if it were me, I would be sincerely considering retiring, getting out of there before you do potentially more harm to yourself. Dude's got a family. I understand that if he wants to stay, like if he's made aware of what the risks are and he continues to keep playing, then that's totally his call. He has the right to do that. But, might be that's number 3. Concussions, and it's tough. It's dangerous. It's a dangerous sport. So, but let's talk about the Jags. So listen, it was a pretty heartbreaking loss, especially like when you consider how well we looked in the first half and things were rolling and our defense was solid. And I feel better about the fumble after seeing the replay. When I first saw it, the angle from which I saw it, it really just looked like it just kind of fell out of his hands, which was really frustrating. Obviously, you want to hold on to the ball, first rule of football. But if it was punched out, it's not like he just dropped it. It's just one of those things that's worse when you consider the circumstances surrounding it, right? Because like if that would have been like in the middle of the second quarter and then we would have stopped Miami on the next drive, it wouldn't have been as bad. But what happened instead is that on the next play, Tua completed an 80-yard touchdown pass to Tyreek Hill, so that just made it so much worse. Personally, I think they should run Tank Bigsby more. I don't know what the deal is with that. I like Tank. I know Trevor and Etienne have like a history together and they have like a whole dynamic duo thing going on, but like you can do both. You can rely on Tank as more of a workhorse and just let him smash his way through, chew the clock, pick up yards, and then just put Etienne in for like the specialized plays, like the rollouts and stuff that he's good at. A lot of this comes down, I said a lot of this comes down to Press Taylor. We'll talk about that in a minute. By the way, this is common for us, like for the last decade plus, that our defense does really well, but because the offense doesn't play as well, then the defense is forced to spend more time on the field, and as a result, they're more tired. The Dolphins, I think, had like 4 or 5 minutes more possession than us in that game. Our third down efficiency was awful. We were 2 for 10 on third down in that game. That's got to have to improve, or it's not going to matter who's running the ball. Also, the O-line, I think it might be time for Cam Robinson to go. If he's not hurt, he's getting silly penalties. I think it's time to invest some money or draft picks in the O-line. We just gave Trevor his contract, so he's going to be there for a while. You might as well invest in the O-line that could protect him. He's constantly getting pressured, and that's got to change. When you look at like the best teams in the league, most of them have good offensive lines. The Chiefs, the 49ers, the Ravens. And finally, it might just come down to coaching. It could be a coaching thing too. Peterson has been here for a few years now, and I can't stand Press Taylor. It seems like drawing PIs is now part of our like every game strategy, which is like, all right, I guess. Seems weird. And also, Brian Thomas Jr. looked good. So I'm optimistic about that. So I just worry about our O-line, really, is what it is. And honestly, I did not expect to win that game against Miami. I think that our hardest part of the schedule is the first, 4 or 5 games. So if we can get out of the first, if we can get to, week 6 with, 3 wins, I think we'd be good. So they did wrong with the whole quarterback situation. Tua should have retired a year or two ago. Yeah. I think they're keeping Tua out for the season. They should, at a minimum. I don't think that he should play. I think it's concerning the number of level of injuries there are in American football. Though the way they play, it's surprising they don't have more injuries. That's true. Injuries. Mac Jones, yeah. And maybe that might end up being the case. Maybe, who knows? Maybe that'll happen, like middle of the season. They'll switch it up and... Hey, what's happening, Kirk? Wait, we did a question, but that's cool. You can catch it on the VOD, though. Tampa or Detroit this weekend. Who wins? I don't know. Bake Show's been cooking, dude. Baker Mayfield has been doing work. If he can keep that up, they might win. I don't know. Is it in Tampa? You in Detroit? Might be tougher to win in Detroit. So, yeah. I don't know. We're officially in chat, by the way, so we can kind of talk about anything at this point. Just coming off answering that question. There's an answer in there for you, John. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm the same. I don't think I'm any less or more optimistic than I was 2 weeks ago. You know, it's I think that the talent is there. I think that we've got, you know, we don't have any like amazing standout receivers. Maybe Brian Thomas Jr. will continue to develop into a really great receiver for us. That would be great. We could use that. And I would run Tank more. I don't know what the deal is with not with not running him as much. They ran him more this weekend and on Sunday, and he got 73 yards and 12 carries. That's like an average of 6.5 yards a carry. That's good. Let's get more of that going. I think Etienne had also 12 carries, but it was for like 44 yards. Doing a 50-50. Baker's QBR was 146.3. Wow. And it is in Detroit. 50-50 when you play in Detroit. Yeah, it's tough. I don't know. I'm trying to focus on the Browns and hoping that we can beat them. That would be good for us to get at least 1 or 2 wins out of these first couple of toughies, because we got to play the Bills next week, and I'm not looking forward to that. Or maybe it's the week after, but sometime soon. All right, River. Well, thanks for stopping by. Always great to have you in chat, buddy. I was in the area. I drove past ALS several times. Never had a chance to go. I remember seeing lots of commercials for it. You know, when I lived in Michigan and I drove up to Michigan to get there, well, the town we lived in was, technically the town we lived in was Oscoda, which had like 900 people in it. But it was about 15 or 20 minutes north of Tawas City, which had like 2,000 or 3,000 people in it. Tawas City was approximately 3 hours north of Detroit. And so when I went up there to Michigan, I stopped on 8 Mile Road to get gas, just to say that I'd been there. So that was cool. Bills stomped Miami. They did indeed. Bills putting people on notice. James Cook was, my buddy Alex was texting me. He was like, James Cook's feeding families in fantasy tonight, dude. Like, yeah, he was killing it. Well, what's going on with everybody? How's everybody's week? Good things of the week? My good thing of the week is that I got a lot of school work done this week. I have been working less at the vape shop because they've cut hours, but I was able to get a lot of my school stuff knocked out this week, so I'm getting real close to being done with that. Never made it to Oscoda or Tawas. Well, that's okay. Not much you're missing there. Good things of the week. What's the capital of California? Isn't it Sacramento? My bachelor party was at Commercial Park. We ended up getting gas across the road from where the old Tiger Stadium was. Oh, cool. Yeah, there's Michigan's nice. Well, at least where we lived, it was like really beautiful. Oh yeah, we did. I should mention that. Rest in peace, James Earl Jones. Dang, I should have done that as like part of Art Corner. But yeah, that's a shame. I mean, honestly, you know, he was 93. I feel like if you get anything above 80, that's solid. You know what I mean? So 93 is... Oh, thank you very much, Chris, for the gift of memberships. That's much appreciated. It's very helpful for the channel, and I'm sure that those that were gifted the memberships are appreciative. That was really cool. Thanks for doing that. So, oh, well, thank you for joining, Nerve. Glad that you're here. Thanks for stopping by. This is bardadvice, where we do D&D stuff. So now we're just at the end here with chat talking about good things of the week. So my party met this guard. His name was Wayne. He had 2 magic whetstones. He gave them 1. All it does is sharpen and clean the blades. When they first unsheath a sharpened blade, it goes swing. I was wondering when I was like met this guard and his name was Wayne. It's like, wait a minute, guard, party on, Wayne. Sacramento is the capital. I'm pretty good at capitals, I gotta say. I'm always good. I've been good at those. Good thing of the week, new in-person D&D campaign started this week. Nice. Good thing is your company got bought by another one, and the new employers are more controlling and offers less good perks benefits, but we aren't all laid off yet, so that's good, I guess. Hey, if you still have a job, that's good. It's better than a lot of ways it could have gone, you know? They could have, sometimes that happens. Sometimes you get a company buyout and then they're just like, all right, everybody's gone. We're starting from scratch. So, you know, I guess it could be worse. For tribute to Jones. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do, remind me of that in the Discord or something. Capital of Washington, D.C. Does Washington, D.C. have a capital? Washington, D.C. is the capital. Suno question. Is there a way to get it to keep a song the same except changing the pronunciation of one word? Not at the moment, Kirk. They do have covers, which is their new feature, which you can kind of just rerun the song. But it may change it a little bit. I've noticed that on at least one of them I did, it changed it slightly when I did the cover. But I suspect that we will get tools like that in the future. I hope so. Capital of Wyoming is Cheyenne. It's better to wake up early and go to work than wake up late to look for a job, I guess. That's true. Yeah. I was pretty good at capitals, I suppose. Unfortunately, had a crappy week of work, but the good thing of the week is the weekend is here and loving it that I'm here. Well, sorry that you had a not so ideal a week at work, James. But yeah, you're right. It's the weekend, so you can take a little solace in that. Try and reset. Try and have a better week next week. If anyone in the Florida or Arkansas area is interested in medical record retrial, you should join the Discord. What? Not familiar with that. You miss in-person games. Yeah. Yeah, Ethan and some of our friends have been playing. I've just become so... I don't know. I like being home. Good thing of the week, almost done with the shelves. Should be finishing up this weekend. Orlando is not the capital of Florida. Tallahassee is the capital of Florida. There was a push to move it to Orlando. No thanks. If anything, if there were an argument for any other state to make the capital, it would be us or Miami, not Orlando. Orlando is just like, Orlando's like it's like Branson, Missouri or something. It's like where you go for the attractions. Capital of Ontario. Okay, well, I don't know how good I am with... I don't know how good I am with capitals that aren't in America. I guess I should specify that I'm good at American capitals. North American capitals. The United States of America capitals. All right, folks. Well, here we are at the end again. I can't believe it. It always goes by very quickly. Let's do a few things before we get out of here, as we like to do. Remind everybody of the email for the show, which is bardadvice@gmail.com. It also looks like bardadvice. Please send all your questions, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques, etc. there. Follow up with questions. If you want to submit something for Art Corner, send it over to bardadvice@gmail.com. If you want to get some merch, you can do so over at manshorts.com, or you can head over to crackendice.com and get yourself a set of the Man Shorts Kraken Dice. If you want to contribute to anything that I'm doing musically, you can do so directly via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are Yazik, Y-A-H-Z-I-C-K. Just another reminder before we get out of here, Artificial Irie, Songarias, and my AI Reggae album is now available. I've got a link to that in the description of this video. And our show, this is Bardadvice. Our show, Bartificial Intelligence, will be on Sunday, this Sunday at 9 p.m. p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Sangaria's YouTube channel. There's a link for that in the description as well. Our theme this week is vampires, so I'm really excited for that. It's going to be lots of fun. So I think that's everything. We will... Oh, thanks again to all of our members, patrons, super chatters. Remind everybody to like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, rate the podcast, join the Discord. And we will be back here next week, same Bard time, same Bard channel, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Man Shorts YouTube channel. The audio for this podcast, as always, will be made available tomorrow at 12 p.m. noon Eastern Standard Time. I hope that everybody has a fantastic weekend and an even better week, and we will see you next time.